in person or by phone. A gatekeeper's limit assists, but researchers often assist the special participants by mail or computer. Additionally, the computer-delivered survey can reach samples that are identified no way other than their computer and internet use, such as user of online games. And next is time constraints. Although intercept studies still pressure participants for a relatively quick response, in a mail survey can take more time to collect facts than in other surveys, or consider reply at length than in other surveys. Computer-delivered studies often have time limitation, and it usually cannot be interrupted by the participant to seek information. And next is topic coverage. In this kind of survey, researchers normally do not expect to obtain large amount of information. Participants will generally refuse to cooperate with a long or complex mail questionnaire, with many questions left unanswered testify to this problem. And I'm going to talk about maximizing participation in the self-administered survey. To maximize the overall probability of response, attention must be given to each point of the survey process where the response may break down. Here are some examples. The wrong address, email, or postal can result in non-delivery or non-return. Lack of proper instruction for completion may lead to non-response. The written address may be lost, so the questionnaire cannot be returned. Moreover, efforts should be directed toward maximizing the overall probability of response. Here are some suggestions of design questionnaires. The first are easy to read and offer clear response directions, include personalized communication. And finally, there are several practical suggestions to improve response rate. Clear, specifically return direction and device improve response rate. Monetary incentive for participants increase response rates. An appeal for participation is essential.
And now I'm going to introduce survey via telephone interview. And this telephone interview is still important in survey research because the high level of telephone service penetration in US and European Union. Access to interviews by telephone is low cost and efficient way. It means that it also makes telephone interview become a very attractive alternative way for researchers. And next I'm going to introduce advantage of telephone interview. And first is moderate cost. And this is the most important advantage of telephone interview. And the sampling and data collection costs are lower about 45% to 64%, comparing with personal interviews. And also, since the codes are from a single location, so the researchers can use fewer and more skilled interviewers. And next is telephone interview is economical when interviews are scattered. Because of telephone's long-distance survey options, it makes possible that telephone interviews can have interviews nationally at a reasonable cost. And that is telephone interview can save in time and money by combining telephone interview with computer equipped. And telephone interview can be combined with immediate entry of response and into a data file, and by using terminal or personal computers or voice data entry. This is a computer equipped called computer assistant telephone interview. This equipment is used all over the world, and the CATI consists of isolate interview carrots like the picture, and it also organized around the supervisory station. And each telephone interviewer in each carrots have a personal computer, and there are a software program. It will mention the interviewers with introductory statement, qualifying question, and pre-code questionnaire items on the monitor. And next computer equipped is computer administered telephone survey, and this equipped unlike CATI. There are no human interviewer, and the computer conduct all the interview. And the computer calls the phone number, conduct the interview, and place the data into file and terminate the contact. And also there are several modes of computer administered telephone survey. The first is touch-tone data entry, and next is voice recognition, and which recognize the limited vocabulary like yes or no. And next is automatically speech recognition. This can recognize and recording a wide range of verbal response. And next is non-connect rate. It means the ratio of potential but unreached contacts to all potential contacts. The non-contact rate of computer administered telephone survey is similar to personal telephone interview. And also because the new technology such as filtering system, it will increase the non-contact rate. And next is refusal rate. It means the ratio of contact participants who decline the interview to all potential contacts. The refusal rate of computer administered telephone survey is higher than personal telephone interview because the people can ham out the computer more easily. And next advantage is faster completion of a study. And when compared to other interviews, the telephone interviews brings a faster completion of a study. it just only takes about a day. And that is reducing interview bias. When comparing to personal interview, in a personal interview, they might have the interviewer bias because of physical appearance or body language or action of interviewers. But using telephone interview can reduce the interview bias. And I'm going to introduce the disadvantage of telephone interview. And the first one is inaccessible household. Nowadays, more and more households use filtering a device and service, and to use first device and service to restrict access. And moreover, there is a effective legislation. That means that allows the subscriber to take their white phone number to wireless phone service, or they can shift their wireless phone between carriers without losing their wireless number. Therefore, the guidelines for identify location of a phone by its number is no longer applied, so it may cause source of bias. And therefore, there is a solution is designed to reduce the sum of bias. It calls random dialing. It means require choosing phone exchange or exchange blocks, and then generate random number with these blocks of locally. And that advantage is in occurrence or non-functioning number. There are a lot of unlisted numbers in the U.S., especially in the big city area, and also, however, there are some methods have been developed to overcome these deficiencies of directories, such as random dialing or a combination of directory and random dialing. And next is limitation on interview length. The interview length depends on the participant's interest on the topic, and the interview length about 10 minutes. 10 minutes has been thought as ideal, but more interviews of 20 minutes or more are not uncommon. And that is limitation on use speech, visual, or complex question. The telephone interview limits the complexity of survey. For participants who cannot visualize the management device that the interview is attempting to describe, and one solution has to employ a 9-point scale approach, and it asks the participant to visualize it by using telephone dial or keypad. And next disadvantage is easy of interview termination. And because the telephone interview is easier for interview to terminate the phone, and also the telemarketing practice may also contribute. And next is less participant involvement. And according to a survey, interviews by phone find that the experience to be less rewarding than the